Welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. Each show will be filled with news, interviews, technology, and reviews all about you, the writer. And now here's our host, H.D. Campbell. Welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. I'm your host, H.D. Campbell. This will be my final show of the fall before my big move to St. Louis, where I will bring you better, more live shows with even more powerful interviews. For my final show, I have two big powerhouses in their own right. One a literary powerhouse and the other a musical powerhouse. I'm speaking of author Andrea Clinton and music producer Jamin Kendall. But before I start the show, I wanted to give you an update about an interview I briefly gave when I was in St. Louis with LaShonda Hoffman. We spoke about forming a writers group together, and we spoke in detail both on and off camera about her mother, Mrs. Brenda Turner. Brenda recently passed away since our interview. And to mention a few things, we talked both on and off camera about her medical struggles. And those who knew Brenda knew what those struggles were. And the Lord finally called her home. LaShonda and her mother shared more of a sister-type bond than mother and daughter. And she was more like a second mother to me. Besides forming a group together, we all went to college together, even shared a few classes together. When I was down and was ready to throw in the towel, especially on my literary career, LaShonda and Brenda were there for me and kept saying, "Hey, you're better than this," lift me up and everything. And even in Brenda's death, that didn't seem to amaze me because recently in a conversation I had with LaShonda concerning her mother, she mentioned how she mentioned how her mother Brenda was up in heaven cracking jokes with my wife, Velma, who passed away late last year. So Brenda, you will definitely be missed, and I really hope you and Velma are up there cracking jokes. When we come back, we'll start an interview with author Andrea Clinton. When a Russian nuclear warhead stolen in 1991 is discovered in Paris, the government asked the United States for help. They sent over their top strategist codenamed Sergeant Wiseguy. Coupled with a smart mouth, can he work with the Parisian government in uncovering the plot before the warhead is used? Buy Sergeant Wiseguy Chronicles at your favorite bookstore or at these websites. From best-selling author Keisha Green, buy her first book at Even If I Did for $2.99 on Amazon Kindle. It's the story of three Jersey girls with different backgrounds, trying to survive in the real world while learning that life isn't terrible when you have friends. But as fast as things are good, they turn bad, which makes the girls come to the real definition of friends forever. Follow Simone, Taylor, and Jordan in this wonderful book, and Even If I Did, for $2.99 on Amazon Kindle. And don't forget to join Keisha Green every Thursday on Blog Talk Radio for her Writer's Life Chat, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome back to the show. My first interview is with author Andrea Clinton. Find out all about her novels and find out who her famous uncle is that she mentions, not I. You'll find out here in a second. Now meet Miss Andrea Clinton.
I think I was about maybe 7 or 8 years old. My grandmother was the director of the Right to Read program, and she was like, really serious about me reading. And so from that, I started telling stories, and I guess I caught her at the wrong time when she was doing some bills or whatever. And she said, why don't you sit down and take a pen and why don't you write your story this time? And so, I started. The first thing I wrote was a play because I was reading plays at that time. And I think I had just, began to get in the habit of, not as well as telling stories, I began to, write stories. So I was there about a good 7 or 8 years old.
Okay. Well, what and who were some of your influences?
Literally?
Yes.
Wow. So many. I have to say, Richard Wright was the first person that made me begin to take it very serious.
Native Son.
The first, I'm sorry.
No. I'm sorry. I blurted out Native Son. I love that story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Actually, I read Black Boy,
Love
and
that.
it was actually the first book, the first full book that I ever finished. Like I always started books and never finished them, and it was the first book that I ever finished, and I was just so taken with them that I said, okay, it's time, and I began to, write and take it serious and, preserve my work. And then I think it happened again to me when I read Terry McMillan's Mama and Disappearing Acts, and especially when I got a hold of J. California Cooper's this is In Search of Satisfaction and Family. Those two books just took me over the edge, and I've been nonstop ever since.
Before I continue the interview, I'm going to tell you something. As I was reading your bio, I noticed we have a lot in common literarily as far as what we liked and what we like. And now that you're telling me a lot of your influences, these were a lot of mine too as I was coming up. So,
wow.
So that's pretty great. All right. Well. See, as I was reading your bio, you got several books out, great reviews. But please tell my viewers that don't know you all of your titles.
All of my accomplishments?
Yes.
Oh wow, okay. Well, good thing I have my book in front of me. That'll be my cheat sheet. I'm an English teacher. Let me start off. I have a degree in English, film, and journalism. I graduated from Montclair State University in Montclair, New Jersey. I am an English teacher, a novelist, poet, essayist. I've been a journalist a freelance journalist for over 10 years. I am editor-in-chief of Amistad newspaper, and I have a nonprofit organization called People Helping People. What else can I say? I think those are my highlights.
All right.
Some of the things that I've been doing.
Cool. Well, what are the names of some of your books?
Well, I wrote a lot of articles, and I did the stories that I wrote. A lot of them were for the newspapers that I wrote for.
Mm-hmm.
They were just very short, like really short stories. I can't remember the names of some of them, but I know I did one, Shireen Kill's Slacking Mom. That's where this girl lives in the hood, and she had a nice life, but then I won't tell you. It's a really big twist, so I can't say too much. And it is going to be put into a short story book I'm going to put out next year. But basically, in the beginning, you find out that she killed her mother, and through a therapy session with a psychologist, you find out everything that she's been through, and then you go through this twist that you totally never saw coming. So,
okay.
That's one of them anyway.
Okay. Like I say, you were very impressive, because again, like me, I did the journalism thing, and see, here you are, having success with the Amistad newspaper. How long have you been with the paper?
I think maybe 2005 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I actually came on to kind of help out a little bit as a freelance journalist and as a news editor, and actually to run the arts and entertainment section. And then, the people who owned the paper, they had decided to stop, and well, at least the editor did. And so the business owner or business manager had asked me if I would, like to partner with him, and so I said sure. And so we did it for a few years. And it just, it began to get overwhelming because I had to put my books out. So I told him, I had to take a break, and he decided not to continue, but I just picked it up from there.
All right.
So I'm actually thinking about turning it into a newspaper, into a magazine, actually.
Okay, well, I think you should. I would say, with as much as you've gone through already as far as push yourself and accomplishing, I would say just do it.
Yeah. I want to, but you know, I'm one of those people that when I get with something, I get so dedicated to where it's just crazy because I was like gun ho on doing a magazine. The magazine would be actually much easier than doing the newspaper as far as layout. And so I just started thinking about it, and I got excited, and I just ran with it. And then all of a sudden, I thought about it. I said, "But then that means I won't be doing the newspaper." So I just got like really, really emotional about it. So now I'm like trying to push myself to do the magazine because it's so much easier. But then there's that part of me that's saying, "Yeah, but you know,
Exactly.
what about the newspaper?"
It's like one against the other, and I know exactly. It can get overwhelming in your head sometimes.
Yeah, and I think the thing is because the newspaper, I not only did, but the goal of the newspaper was to bring world news into the inner community because a lot of us, you know, we're just involved with the news that affect us, and we don't realize that some of the news that happens globally affects us, especially when you have wars, because our sons and nephews and so on. Now our daughters, you know, can
Mm-hmm.
go over to war. You know, just famine in other countries and disease and all kind of different things, you know, going on over there can affect us. You know, like look at what happened with Japan going under and then the nuclear plants and then the radiation and it went up in Europe and they claimed they saw some over even toward the States. You know what I'm saying? Like these things really affect us. And so when I
Absolutely.
have the newspaper, I can put these things, you know, in the newspaper and talk about it and shed some light those things that they don't know or that they don't hear. And I can do that with the newspaper, and it just works. I don't know that if I do that with the magazine, that it's going to work because the kind of magazine that I'm thinking about is like Life or People,
Mm-hmm.
more so like Life magazine. And I just don't know if that will go over well. And it's not an African American magazine or newspaper. It's more of an inner community. And, you know, in the inner community, we have poor blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asian, and everybody, you know. So
Absolutely.
it's for everyone, but it's just enlightening about the things going on around the world. So I just have to figure out how to make that happen.
Well, I like your philosophy, and you're very smart. You're a very smart person. I'm sure you're going to find a way to make it happen. Because
Yeah, thank you.
well see, I mean seriously, that's something that we really need as a people, not just black people, like you say,
Yeah,
in a community. You know,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you there's a scene in Lean on Me where Joe Clark was talking about, the the big test that they were all taking.
Mhm.
He made a student, he made a comment, I want all my white students to stand up, and pretty much so talking to them because they were pretty much so trapped and couldn't move. Yeah,
Mhm.
they couldn't get away, so they're part of this whole system too. So I kind of like that whole universal attitude that you have with that.
Yeah, thank you. It's important because we actually all have to live together. I mean, there's no difference. Whatever little differences that we have in like color, they start to spill over or they begin to metastasize because of religion or lack thereof or just cultural differences. And those things are so minute on a scale because, you know, I'm into geology as well. It's kind of weird because most people or teachers that teach English are really not that big on science. But I
Right.
love geology because in geology you begin to see God's work. You know, you see the mountains and how they were formed, and how it's been around for millions of years, and the deserts, and you know, the ocean. You get to see all those things, and how those things tie into our lives every day is because, example, when that thing happened over in Japan, they said that the Earth had separated. I believe it was like 8 degrees or something like that, which
Mm-hmm.
is it rounded up to be about 8 inches, and that affected the time. And the time we use on our clock for our daily schedule. You see what I'm saying? Like these
Absolutely.
things all have a connection. In color and race and hatred and all that, it does not. You know. So that's what I try to do. And in the, I even did articles in the newspaper about what's his name? Oh God, actors. Oh God, my brain just really went dead.
Take your
Al
time.
Pacino, Robert De Niro,
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp. You know, when my arts and entertainment section is really about arts and entertainment, I don't discriminate. And then when I spoke about the news, Rutgers University finally had won a championship game,
Absolutely.
and the gentleman that came, I forgot what state he came from, but I believe it was Northeast. And he was a white gentleman, came and he took the school to new heights, and I put that in there on the front page. When the black coach for football, when he was going up against the other team, I put both of their pages up, both of their faces up there on the front, and I think he won, the first black coach or something that won the Super Bowl. I just put things up. I put news up there, and then everybody's hopefully enriched with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it. I like doing that. And I get some negative feedback because some people say, we hear about those people all the time. These folks are the things we don't know. And, I try not to feed into that because I believe that, a wise person knows many cultures, and they know many things, be it news and so on and so forth.
See, like I say, I know I had a feeling when I first doing this interview I was going to have an interesting conversation with you. Because I'm going to tell you, oh, that's not a problem. Because I'm going to tell you something. The only difference in the races is how ignorant we choose to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's definitely true.
Right. So if we choose, the more ignorant we are, the more difference we see. But if we continue to learn, because again, there's good and bad in everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You know what? That is so true. I was watching, what's his name, Shaka Zulu, and every time it comes on, I watch it. I don't know what that's about, but I just, because I think I'm going to get something new from it.
Well, you get many things, so yeah.
I was just watching, how some of the people there were bad, and how, some of the things that they did, and, just, to protect the tribe or to save the tribe's namesake and all that kind of thing. And then I was, thinking in my head, okay, fine, they were wrong for coming and capturing us and taking us to slaves and so on and so forth. But they want to excuse the fact that the tribes used to kill off one another.
Exactly.
And when they would kill the men and they would enslave the women or take them as concubines. And they want to excuse that. They want to say, yeah, but it was different. In my head, don't get me wrong, the slavery that happened over here, we know it was bad. Separating children, selling them off, killing and hanging, and, we know that was bad. But I'm not going to excuse the fact that somewhere back down the line, some tribe probably came and killed off my tribe so that they will know more, just like the Native Americans, and then took the women as concubines, and the women were going with their husbands and sons for war. You see what I'm saying? How could you downplay that and say, yeah, but that's different? Because it was black on black. I mean, I just think we have to just kind of open our minds up a little bit more. I think we get so proud that we get a little silly sometimes. That's just my take on it anyway.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. I'm 100% agree with you. I said,
I wish people would think about it a little bit more before they excuse. There's wrong, and like you said, there's wrong in every race. Wrong does not have a color or a race or religion. It just is what it is.
Right. And see that's the thing. Well, see, my thing is even with this show, I try to make the show universal because number one, I actually wish I got more white authors that would come. I love all. I want any author who wants to come. Also, any author's news I do is always universal because it affects everyone who's a writer or an author. So yes. So like I say, I'm 100% in agreement with you. We can talk about this all night, but I know we don't have all night. But I'm just, this is just a wonderful conversation. Say again. I'm sorry.
I said good. I was saying that's good. I'm glad we're having, that you're enjoying it. I know I am.
Well, when I conduct these interviews, these really aren't interviews. These are more like discussions. Yeah. And this is why I want to come off to everybody watching that we're having a discussion. I'm asking questions, but we're expressing the answer.
Yeah.
So tell me about your current book project.
Well, I started the Life Knows No Bounds series because I was just noticing. Let me just say, in 2002, I was diagnosed with lupus, and I had so many notebooks and crates and trunks full of notebooks over the years of different stories that I had began writing, and so it was so fulfilling to me, even though I wished that I could hurry up and finish a book. And when I was diagnosed with lupus, they didn't know what it was at first. And so I lay around sick for over a month. And we actually thought I was dying. And finally I had a doctor who said that it sounded like lupus and everything. But during the time that I was sick, I just began to think a lot. And I said, I did all this writing. I had some good stories that help people because they all, address different points in life. And I said I haven't put anything out. Aside from the shorts that I put in the newspaper, I hadn't put any actual novels or books out, and I felt bad, because, you just think you have all the time in the world and you put things off and procrastinate, and I was starting to get into film, and so, I felt really bad that I didn't do what I had set out to do. And so I just said, I prayed and asked, God, just make me well and better so that I could, just make some contributions to this world. And so as soon as I was well, I had had a dream or a story that comes to me when I had one of those high fevers and I was a little delirious, and I ended up putting that into a book. And then not long after that, I had just decided that I was going to hurry up and just push out some books. Don't think about it. Don't, fight over it or whatever. Just put them out. And so I just sat down one day and I began to write some different stories, and I thought about some issues that were going on, and then I thought to myself, like, well, why don't I do a series? And so I'm thinking, like, okay, well, I'm trying to address issues in life, and I just began thinking about some of the stories that I read from some of the old authors, and one of the ones I thought about was Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, where one of the characters in the book, they say he knew no boundaries. Once he got there with the natives, he, instead of joining them to be freed, he ended up joining them and just never stopped. He never got a grip on himself enough to, pull it together and just get on the ship and go back home to Europe. And so I thought about that. I said, that's like life. It knows no boundaries. It just keeps going on and on and on, and it kicks you and smacks you and knocks you down, and it just keeps going. And then I thought about how a lot of us, we get so depressed, or we get so, sick over it, we get, we go through depression, we become bipolar, schizophrenic, and a whole lot of other, mental issues come on just because of the stress of just living life, And so I said, maybe what I'll do is I'll attack, life and, just kind of point out that it doesn't know boundaries. And I wanted to make sure, I had to keep writing it down so I didn't forget. I wanted to make sure that I put in there somewhere that life isn't out to get you in particular. It just doesn't know boundaries. It doesn't know when to stop. It just is what it is. Like water flows. It doesn't know when to stop. So long as it has room to flow, it's going to flow. And that's life. It doesn't know boundaries. And so I began to come up with the idea to just make it a series and just, in the series put about 5 or so books, and each book will address the issue, and then just, try to keep this series going for as long as, I'm alive, and I pray that God keeps me, going for a long time with this lupus. But I just said that I would, put out a volume of about 5 books per volume, and each one of them will deal with an issue. And even though it'll be an interesting story that hopefully everybody can get into and they can really like it, because of the trauma and everyday life things that are going on, they can still get the point and they can still, match it up against everyday life and everyday issues, and just kind of feel like they have something else to think about. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be an antidote to everything going on, but it will at least be, something for them to think about and consider, and hopefully can help some people so that they don't go into mental health issues, or so that they don't, go commit suicide or homicide or some of these other things that life, can kind of push you toward. So this is the reason why I, came up with The Life Knows No Bounds. One Who Loves You More is the first book in the series. And that book is about a girl who's a gold digger. The motto of the book is, what becomes of a gold digger? Well, that's the tagline, rather. And I did it because I noticed a lot of these young girls are running around out here using men for money. And they're looking at the glamour, and they're looking at the fact that, they have a lot of jewelry and money and credit cards and cars and all of that. But they're not looking at a lot of the negative, that comes from it. And they're not looking at how dangerous it can be when these men think that, they're building something with the women, and then the women just drop them, because they're ready to move on to the next couple of guys. So I wrote this book to address that issue.
Very good, very good. Well, now I want to ask, what brought you to Around the Way publishing?
Well, I was actually getting ready to start sending out some query letters to different agents. And I had a publicist that said, since I had been studying the publishing industry for like over 10 years, why didn't I just go ahead and start my own publishing company? And I didn't really want to. I actually just wanted to, be picked up by a big publisher and, put some books out, do some tours, and just keep writing, But she said to me, well, why, go for, 25%, 15 to 25% when you can get 100%? So, that sounds good. If nothing else sounds good, the fact that you can get 100% of the money coming in always sounds good. Well, granted, at the time, I didn't realize, I did know that it was more to it than that, the 100% doesn't just go to the author or me just because I'm part owner in the company. It actually, is spread out to vendors and printing and editing and just all kinds of things to make it happen. And by the time what's left over comes back to the publishing company, there's really not a whole lot. The percentage is very small, and then the amount that goes to the author is just as small. So, I learned the hard way. Even though I knew it from reading it and studying it, actually seeing what your hands on, I just know now that's a big job. But that's how I came into the whole publishing thing.
Okay. Like I say, when you put your head into something, you really put it in, and I think that's very good. That's very
I'm
good.
ready to take it out. I'm ready to take it out to publishing. I'm telling you, the first time that I get someone to talk to me about a publishing deal, I'm really going to consider it. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I'll probably still try to, keep Around the Way publishing and, use it to help other people as soon as I can, get the funds up, to, help others. But it's just a lot of work involved. I would rather hire someone and have them do it. I would love to even have a nonprofit publishing company, where you can help people, with literacy, and you can help, people to learn how to write. Because a lot of people have a story in them, but they don't have the tools to write. I would love to do something like that. But yeah, if I could get picked up by a bigger publisher, that's a dream right there.
Right.
We'll see.
You believe me, you'll get there by whatever means you can. Any means necessary, you will get there.
I hope so. I'm praying on it.
Oh, I'll be praying right along for you and with you.
I appreciate it.
Oh, it's no problem. Well, you mentioned that you were sick you were sick with lupus and you're in recovery. How are you feeling today?
Actually, today's a good day. I can say that honestly. It's a really good day. Believe me, when it's not a good day, I'm like everybody else on with lupus on Twitter. I'm tweeting it and I'm saying today sucks. Or I'm putting some kind of prayer up there. A lot of times I say, "Dear God, it's me, Andrea. Why do I not feel good today? Or can you please make me feel better?"
Right.
So please, but today's a really good day. Actually, I had been bad for about a month. I went to the Southern Black Writers Conference for film in Memphis, and when I got back, because I really ate down there because there's a lot of pork and I don't eat pork, and it was hard to find some place, and we didn't know our way around, and so with all the running and everything, I was sick really bad with the bad flare up after flare up. So for about a good month, I wasn't well at all, and then I started getting into the groove, and I was blessed enough that, I had these surges of energy, so I was able to get, some things done. And, it's been okay since, but I just had to really, really relax. Lupus is one of those really sneaky diseases.
Absolutely.
And, just out the clear blue, it could just kind of run up on you and smack you over,
And I have friends, and, who either have lupus or have relatives who have lupus, and trust me, I understand it is no joke. In fact, I did want to compliment you on the fact that you do have on the Around the Way publishing site where people can contribute to helping the fight against lupus. I do appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I've been trying to reach out to them. I wanted to get more involved with lupus. I even had a publicist who said, most people who, either start their own business or, doing something like becoming an author or, just becoming a celebrity. Not that I'm a celebrity or anything, but, she said that they usually, try to get a nonprofit and they try to do something, with the nonprofit. And she, really told me I shouldn't. Once I told her I had lupus and that I was signed up with the, Lupus Foundation of America, she told me that, I should try to, do something, with them. I've been reaching out. It's just kind of hard to run the publishing company and to keep up with trying to get a contact person to kind of host some things. But, I'll get around to it. But, yeah, I am. I've definitely been trying to be, really involved. I know I've been communicating with a lot of people who have lupus, and we've been kind of like holding each other's hands and, keeping each other up. And, so I guess that's the story.
Again, I have nothing to say but good job for you. 'Cause like I said, you doing the Superwoman thing here. You got your hands and feet and everything. So I
I'm trying.
so is it accurate to say any setback that you do have, it pushes you
Um, Further back or
further forward. In other words, anything somebody come at you negative, it just propels you to do better things.
well, what it does, honestly, sometimes lupus is so funny, and I think almost anybody who has it will agree with me that sometimes lupus makes you feel like you're running out of time because the sick that you can get sometimes it just makes you seem like when you wake up in the morning or when they wake up in the morning, you won't be there with them. I mean, it can really get that bad sometimes.
Right.
Some people think it's just like, all your joints, start aching and, you swell up or you become inflamed or whatever, and they think that that's it. But, lupus attacks organs in your body, and it sometimes even, the main things that most people die from with lupus is either a brain aneurysm or some type of brain something, or the kidneys or the heart. And so you get these little, tricky things. Like one time, a couple of years ago, they thought that I was having my congestive heart failure. So they ran all of these tests and rolled me crazy and everything, but it was actually nothing. I had a little water right outside my heart, and they said lupus does that sometimes because it mimics heart issues. So, it's like the devil playing with you. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can feel like, oh my God, I got this horrible thing, and then all of a sudden they run a test and they say, it's gone. I mean, that's what happened to me when I first was diagnosed. They said that my kidneys were failing. I'm like, huh? I'm like, I was a clear blue, and so the next thing you know, they ran the blood test again, and they said, oh my God, never have we ever seen this before. They said the test is normal. It's not bad at all. And the doctor just looked at me. He said, well, you know what? They must have mixed up your blood work with somebody else's. And so finally, the doctor who diagnosed me, she called it. She said, no. She said, it probably was right. She said, it's probably lupus. She said, I was bet. She said, if I was a betting woman, I was bet. It was an Egyptian doctor also. She said, I was bet that it was lupus. And sure enough, I had lupus. And she said, that's the reason why it did that, because lupus mimics other, problems or diseases. And it'll make you think oh, you're on your way out. The next thing you know, you're fine. The blood works fine, and so it's kind of crazy. It's hard to really say that. I tell you, if it makes me push forward, it's only because I'm always mindful that today could be the last day, or time it could be relatively short. Especially in the winter month.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna switch gears here, and I'm gonna switch gears. Do you have any other projects in the works besides this new after your new project comes out?
Well, again, the first book is The One Who Loves You More. That's the first book in the series of Life Knows No Bounds. The next book is A Blessing and a Curse, and it comes out this fall, God willing. I'm also writing a book, shortcuts to great writing, and it's a book to help high school and college students to, write MLA formatted essays in all the different styles. And the reason why I did it was because I had put together a little program to teach my students, because a lot of, African American and Hispanic kids have a problems with writing essays. And So I put this together so that I could, try to show them like some shortcuts, that they can take. It's not really shortcuts. It's just really explaining it to the T in a language that they can, understand, or breaking it down. Everything now is like icons and pictures.
Right.
McDonald's, they push the picture of the French fries, and they go to Windows and they click on the picture of the printer, to print. So it's basically like that. I put together something, and so I had a lot of friends and mentors who told me that I need to put it in some form of a kit, and I figured since I'm not, close to doing that as yet, I might as well go ahead and put it into a book. So the book comes out in the fall, and again, it's shortcuts to great writing. And I got a lot of good feedback so far on it, and I'm known in New Jersey, North Jersey, as being, a good writer and someone who helps the students. I had a student who was getting D's and F's before she came to me, and then she transferred to a public school, and they put her in the AP class, a college honors class. So it works pretty good. So hopefully, when it comes out, it'll help, a lot more students, and hopefully schools will, buy it and, have it there for the students to use.
Okay.
And also, the book that I have out now, One Who Loves You More, I was just picked up by a producer, Dee Spencer. She's a radio station manager and a DJ. And we're going to be working on, having it put into a play.
Hey.
I've also have another producer out there looking to get it on cable. We were looking at Showtime and HBO, but he's also looking at other channels like Centric and what's the other one, Weed TV, and some of the other channels like Lifetime. So I have a lot of stuff I'm looking at. Only God knows what'll come into fruition, but I'm trying to do a lot of great things. Trying.
But again, like you said, when your head's in it, you can go anywhere you want to.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, you have an amazing career, and I do mean amazing career, and you just keep achieving. What do you have any advice for any upcoming new aspiring writers and authors?
Well, if they're aspiring to be an author, I would say go to school, go to school, go to school. If you want to be an author, or you want to be a writer, maybe you want to write nonfiction books, how-to books, self-help. I would definitely say go to school. Not just you can take just a little class to get started. Like it's one of the community colleges, they have the continuing education classes or the workshops. You can take that just to get started. Helping you get your ideas down. But I would suggest that they go and at least at minimum get an associate. Take those English classes and those creative writing classes. And the reason why I say that is because it's more to this. Everybody, a lot of people push out books back to back to back. And that doesn't mean that every book that they push out is a good book. I purposely made sure that I went to school. I mean, granted, it was my major and it was what I wanted to do. But I made sure that I went to school and I took the classes so that I could try to master it. And that's not to say that I've mastered it. I actually believe I still have, some things to learn. But that I did learn, I learned. And it was enough for me to, move forward and, build on top of what, my grandmother had taught me all those years and what I learned on my own and what I got from high school and then what I also got from college. So it was really helpful. And I would just suggest that anybody, do that, because what happens, you can get out here and learn the hard way and then struggle and then get depressed and give up, or just get so stressed out about it that you give up. Or you can go to school and you can enhance your skills and learn some, different things that, will be helpful and could help or contribute towards you being a successful writer. So that's what I would say. If they're serious about it, I would tell them to invest themselves in going back to school or if they already have a degree, just following that line of classes, and just better themselves.
Right.
And I think that's the best advice I can give somebody, and I really mean that because I have some people who I communicate with all the time, and they tell me, I got one good book, and it did well, but now I don't know what to write about, I don't know where to start from, and sometimes it's like that. Some people just have one story; they have a story in them, and then some of them are just writers, and they can't really kick it out, So I would definitely suggest that.
All right. I only have two more questions for you. This next one is it's sort of similar to the one I just asked, but this is actually I'm actually asking you now, what message do you have for your fans?
What message?
Yes. What would you like to tell your fans?
Well, it would be nice to know that I have fans, and not just those ones keeping the heat, blowing around the house. But I don't know if there's any out there. If I do, accomplish, fans in time. For one, I'm grateful that they will like my work or what I stand for or what I'm trying to do. And I would just like to, my message for them really would just be to stay tuned because there's a lot of sides to me. I don't know if you knew it or not, but I'm George Clinton's niece, and a lot of the
which is
feedback
which
that
is
I'm getting.
actually which is actually my last question. But go ahead.
But a lot of the feedback that I'm getting from people is that like it must run in your family because they said some of the things that your uncle engineered and the things that he generated in his music. They said like who would think of it? Who would come up with that? And I've had a few interviewers that I spoke to that did read the book, and they said the exact same thing to me. They said they said you you write with the same creativity that your uncle puts in his music. And so I believe to a degree, I don't know to what degree, but I believe to a degree that it possibly does run in the family because I know sometimes I come up with some like things, some really way out ideas, or I can take something that's realistic and the way that I kind of draw it out and embellish it, kind of can go into either to realism or fantasy or something crazy, just to bring it to the point. So I know that I have those skills. Like I said, to what degree I don't know. But I'll leave that to the readers to judge. But I believe that they should hang in there and just hang in there with me and read some of the things that I put out and just get to see my skills, my writing skills, and just support.
Well, I do want to say a couple final things to you. Whatever it is you're doing is not giving you a big head. Whatever it is you're doing, you're staying humbled, and in this genre, you really need to stay humbled in order to stay
Yeah.
focused. So I really commend you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And the thing is it's I've heard people say, I'm trying to be not positive. What's the word? Um, they say I'm not being conceited. I'm just being positive.
Right,
On just
exactly.
having confidence. And I do think that that's a good thing. But it's sad that you really can't express that because no matter what you say out your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
people, have that ability to form their own opinion. So I
Mm-hmm.
try, believe me, I try to make sure that I'm really mindful of what comes out my mouth. I'm not saying I'm always, good at it, but I try to be mindful because I know what my heart is, and I know that first impression is the lasting one. And so you see us at the Apollo when they get up there, if they stink, what do we do? We kick them off.
Exactly.
We just send man after them. So I know we can, we as a people, we can be really serious when it comes to, who we like and dislike, So I try to be real mindful to, just be me as much as I can and just try to talk how I feel so that people get to know me. And, regardless of which way, their opinion forms after that, at least they really do know me. It's not some facade or some, whatever, At least I try, like I said.
When I return, I'll speak to music producer Jamin Kendall. Love can be hard, but finding love can be like walking through miles of desert with a half a cup of water. Read one person's journey in How to Lose a Black Woman. Buy it on my website for only $5 during May and June at www.hdcampbell3.net. By Late Murder at 10. Ex-investigative reporter turned audio engineer Mark Alexander is brought back into the business when the top news anchor at the station he works is tragically shot by a masked gunman, and the co-anchor is arrested for engineering the murder, but Mark Alexander smells a classic frame-up. Now he has to face old friends and confront his demons to get the truth uncovered. But as each controversy gets uncovered, each turn could be Mark's last. Buy Late Murder at 10 at your favorite bookstore or these websites. Welcome back to the Author's Corner. From our final interview, I'll be interviewing Jamin Kendall. He's a musical producer who has produced so many talents. and so many you may know, and so many you're going to get to know. We also had an interesting chat about the music industry. So without further ado, here's the interview.
Probably around age 7, I believe. And, my family's always been a very musical family. My mom had a bunch of old records, and for some reason she couldn't get me to sit in front of the television, so she figured out the only way she could get me to sit so she could go run to the store real quick was to put me in front of the record player. So, I listened to a bunch of old records, Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt, old Parliament records, whatever the case might be. I just throw it on and listen. And then when she left, I put on that Richard Pryor.
I heard that. My mom had a bunch of old Richard Pryor, Red Fox, and all that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think that's really what inspired me to get into music in the first place. Was I just had a natural inclination towards it. That's the best way I could put it.
All right. Before I continue on, I forgot to mention one important thing about this interview. Because of the fact that it's taped, feel free. It's not timed, so don't feel like that you're obligated to stop your answer at a particular time frame. So, Just wanted to let you know. So I guess that segues to my next question. Which artists influenced your musical career?
Oh, as a lot of children growing up, I didn't have the most stable family. So as I mentioned before, what originally got me into music was just listening to it so much. And I guess really, for me, music was kind of, no disrespect against, my parents, my step-parents, my grandparents, my aunties, none of them. But I don't know, I think I learned a lot of my life lessons through music. And being as such, I can't really put it on one particular artist. I mean, it goes anywhere, like I mentioned before, with jazz, with like Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, of course, John Coltrane, reggae, Bob Marley, Steel, Post, R&B, Earth, Wind and Fire, Roberta Flack, Nina Simone, Shaka Khan, Stevie Wonder, of course, and, all the way up in the rap, of course, Pac, Run DMC, and then, some newer artists like 40 and Snoop, even NWA. I mean, they were kind of all like my life teachers almost, and helped me kind of stay out of trouble. So, basically, that's what I want to do. I kind of want to continue in that musical conversation and give my contribution to society, and hopefully, inspire some young kids from staying out of trouble or whatnot, educating themselves.
Well, I want to add to that to say that every artist you just mentioned were trendsetters. Every artist a group. So it's like, I can understand why they were, why they pretty much were your influences, because they each set a different trend in their own precedent.
Yeah. I never really thought about it like that, but you're right. And, I guess that's where my variety of music comes from, because I produce not only, hip-hop and rap music is definitely tend to be my bread and butter, but, I also do smooth jazz. I'll even produce country music, rock music, all of it. If music is good and there's some soul behind it, I love it.
Well, if you're like me, you feel music is just universal, period.
Exactly. Yep, it's the universal language, So, it doesn't really matter what genre. Of course, I got my particular ones that I listen to throughout the day, but, that's not to say that I shut my ears to any particular genre at all.
That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. Which actually segues to my next question. How did your company, Organized Grind Entertainment, get started?
That got started with a few people who I produced music with and I played in groups with before. That got started basically as a record label. At the time, at that particular time, none of us were signed to any label. So we just decided to start our own and put our funds into our own label, which basically, I want to say it goes against the traditional record labels, but in into is an organization we're going to put money into so that we can go out into the community and do community-based events, especially with kids. Teaching kids, because there's a big disconnect right now between music and real music, and especially the youth that's going to be taking over the music industry one day. Most of them, most of these kids that call themselves producers don't even know the first thing about the fundamentals of music, and that's a rich tradition. It began way before jazz was classical, but as far as American art form, I don't believe that there's a true American art form in jazz music. So, and that kind of, to me, kind of turned into rap music, as far as, the improv and things of that nature. So I think there's a disconnect going on between the youth and the traditions of music, especially American music. And so what we want to do is start setting up a lot of programs where we can, go to different cities and bring the kids in and kind of educate them as to what the real music industry is, not what they see on TV, and then the ones that are interested in producing actually start teaching them the fundamentals of music, how to read music, scales, keys, everything concerning music, all the music theory. And then the ones that's interested in rapping or singing, actually give them vocal training, because believe it or not, rappers need vocal training as well, that's an art form as much as society doesn't want to look at rap as an art form. It is, and there's techniques that can be used to further that particular rapper's talent.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. And not only that, but also, engineering and any aspect of music. So that's kind of where organized rhyme is going at this point.
Yeah, because I was going to go on to say, I speak with a lot of young people because I love music. And my music, and like you, my music tastes range. But I tell a lot of young people to see, I guess right now we live in a microwave society. And we live in a reality show society where people, you go by the Berry Gordy and all the other greats models to where if you're going to get into music, you're going to have to learn how to do it right. And just learn to ignore this little microwave society we live in right now.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. The labels got greedy with, selling albums. And as a result of that, especially as the internet came into being, ultimately greed is going to, make you lose everything. So, I don't care if that, as above, so below, as below, so above. It can happen with the individual, or it can happen with the whole corporation, or even the whole society for that matter. So, the music industry is kind of a snake eating its own tail at this point.
Absolutely.
And I believe that, eventually, true artistry is going to have to come back, because I think what labels are realizing right now is that the only true way they're really going to start continue to make money is the live show. So the whole era of the studio musician, or the studio rapper, or the studio singer is going to slowly fade out. So, that's another reason why it's important for youth to kind of get back to the roots of music and entertainment as a whole, rather than just, jumping in the studio and putting the auto-tune on, or pitch correction, or, sliding their vocals over if they're not rapping on time, because it's going to come a time and place where, that the entertainment aspect of being a musician is going to come back around.
Right. And I think it's also all about work ethic. Because, see, one thing I've always admired about Pac was, now, I'm not saying be a workaholic, but Pac sort of lived in the studio. He was a big perfectionist when it came to his music.
You have to be.
Exactly.
If you want to create timeless music.
Absolutely.
You have to be a perfectionist, and you have to be in your art form, and ultimately your art form has to drive you more than the end result of having money, or a nice car, or some fancy jewelry, or a lot of women around you, or whatever the case might be that you think you're being driven into this business for. Ultimately, your art, your craft has to be your main drive.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, also, and those are always going to be the most influential and timeless artists. And that's why I feel bad for, you know, a lot of, you know, these youth coming up and getting sucked into business right now because nobody's there. The whole day of a true A&R person, those are done. I mean, that nobody's being developed as an artist anymore. It's almost like they're just being driven in, make a couple hits for us, make us some money, and then, you know, whatever happens to your career, we don't care because the next kid's standing in line.
Exactly.
You know? And now they're sitting there and they can't get back into the industry. They don't spend up all their money because there's nobody around them to educate them as to, you know, investing their money or doing this or doing that. They're just spending all their money, spending up all their advance, spending up everything. So, you know, the album is pretty much, you know, they don't make any money off it, you know.
Well, you know, I'm going to make I'm going to make a statement instead of just asking a question because since you told me everything else, I know you do this too. As, you know, I'm sure you also teach them, hey, you take this money, you do this, and this with it, save your money, because this will help you in the long run. I know you do that as well. So I commend you for that. I commend you for all of it, actually.
I appreciate that. You know, I mean, I was blessed and fortunate enough to have some good life teachers around me at the right time. You know, now I'm not gonna say I didn't make my mistakes. I mean, I've got chunks of dope before from this industry and just blown it, and sitting there looking stupid a couple of weeks later. You know, and you know, I'm simply not gonna do that anymore. And if I can help other people not do that, then I feel like that's passing on a blessing that was given to me as far as learning that.
Okay. Well, this also, since you like to say, we can go into this all night because I mean, I'm having a good time, and I love talking about music. I definitely love talking about getting the youth involved with music the right way. But my next question, because I talk about this all night. But who are some of the artists that you've worked with?
Well, I have a production company. It's me and my partner. His name is D Black, and we go under the Platinum Firm. That's the name of, you know, originally we were called Black Etcher. Now we go under the Platinum Firm.
Okay.
We've done work for everybody from Snoop to 40 to Master P to we've done stuff with Brian McKnight. You know, my big dog Nocturnal, Lil Flip, David Banner. You know, we've worked with some smooth jazz artists, Jimmy Summers, Bob James, Paul Brown. So, I mean, that's the ones that come to my mind off the top.
Well, I pretty much like your resume right there, and I'm a huge E40 fan. I have to tell you that right now.
Yeah. No, definitely. Me as well. So,
Cool.
you know,
Well,
got to keep it moving.
Exactly. Well, how has the music defined you as a person?
How does music define me as a person?
Yes.
Wow, that's a deep question. I mean, I guess music defines my whole being. I mean, every time I sit down and produce music, or if I'm writing raps, it's all about. I guess, you know, writing raps is cool because I can express how, you know, maybe my feelings are as far as day-to-day things, you know, superficial things, more or less, you know. And I can get spiritual and deep and everything, but like we were saying earlier, music is a universal language. So when I sit down and actually produce music and create music on the piano or the guitar or the bass or whatever instrument is in front of me, I think I can really, truly express my soul, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know, for me they're hand in hand. It's like everybody's got a, you know, you got your spiritual side, you got your mental side, and you got your physical side. That kind of creates a cycle, the circle for me, within music, is being able to produce and to rap and to write for singers. I have horrible singing voice, but I can hold a note and I can show singers what harmonies that I'm hearing, you know. So I think really that's the best way to find that out is to listen to my music.
Okay. Well, what are some of what are some of your current projects? And do you have any events or projects coming up?
Hmm. Yeah. What I'm actually working on tonight, actually, I know you're familiar with Andrea Williams.
Yes, I am. Very.
She wrote the book In Miles from Hell and adapted it to a play, which was very successful and is going to continue to be. She's actually getting ready to take it across the nation right now. So she blessed me with the opportunity to create the music for the play. So I've got one more song I'm working on that for her, and in the process that she actually got me hooked up into the movie they're doing about Rick Ross, you know, the real Rick Ross,
Right.
out of LA. You know, he just got out, so they're doing a movie about him, and she got me hooked up, so I'm actually able to do the soundtrack to that movie. I'm really excited about that. Other than that, I'm actually working on my first project as a rapper. You know, for years I've been producing for other people and ghostwriting for people and whatnot. And, you know, my big bro Nocturnal, he always been in my ear about doing my own project. And I think I'm just finally in a place where either I'm tired of hearing him say that, or, you know, I'm ready now. So I'm working on my project, and I'm working on Nocturnal's new project as well. Working with a couple R&B singers, with a up and coming one of which by the name of Jamin. And I got a couple of artists, you know, up and coming artists that are signed to Universal I'm producing for. So, you know, I'm trying to stay busy. And as far as events that are coming up, obviously the In Miles from Hell, the play, which is going to be on a nationwide tour. And then as well, my brother Nocturnal and myself, we're going on a couple of tours this summer. We're doing a tour of all of BB King's clubs, which I believe starts in August. And then I believe we have another tour that's coming up that I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go down or not, but that's the Free Little Boosie tour. And let's see, other than that, that's pretty much all the fun. I mean, they're talking about sending me and Doc overseas in October, but I'm not too sure, you know, what's going on with that at this point either. So, like I said, man, I'm just trying to stay busy.
Okay. Well, if I want to, where would I go to find out more about you if I'm an aspiring artist or I just want to learn more about what you do?
You could go, you can find me on Facebook, which, you know, you just look under my name, Jamin, Jamin, Kendall, Kendall, or, you know, you can follow me on Twitter, and, you know, I always follow everybody back who's following me. That way we can, you know, direct message each other, and I can stay more in touch with people that way as well. And that's Twitter. It's /OG Jamin, OGJAMIN. So I guess right now those will be the two main places that you could, you know, get in touch with me directly.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask, what message do you have for anyone who's trying to break into the music business or is trying to get to where you are right now?
Two words, be yourself. I think that's the most important thing in this industry. And through striving to be yourself, you're going to find out a whole lot, because music isn't only a business, and it's not only a process, but it's a journey. And if you're a true musician, or a true artist, rather, I think that's a better word for it. If you're a true artist, then it doesn't really matter where you go in your journey. It's what you learn from it. And that's how your art is going to develop and become stronger and stronger. As far as getting into the industry, you know, that's a tricky one. You know, record labels are becoming more and more like banks. And if your credit isn't good, they're not going to give you a loan. So, in other words, if people haven't heard from you, they're not going to give you the time of day unless you got, you know, some money to invest and bring to the table to these labels. Best thing to do is, and I know it's discouraging to hear this, because I used to get discouraged all the time hearing this, but just go out and perform as much as you can, and create and get real creative about how you're gonna, create a buzz about yourself and network. Networking is very important. So you definitely got to work on your personalities and all this. And if you're a rapper, you got to let go of all that street mentality when you step off and you start networking, because even the hardest so-called gangster rappers, when you are at a business meeting with them, they're not gonna come off street. So it's important to let that go and kind of almost be like a chameleon, because you always gotta have a business sense about you. So I understand that the rapping is part of an act, just as acting is. That's not to say that the rappers aren't real, but you gotta learn how to turn it on and turn it off in the right situation. So, like I said, it all boils down to those two words: be yourself. And when you're networking, even if you want to get in contact with me, I can steer you in the right directions. I have no problem sharing my contacts with whoever is serious about their craft. I have no problem with any of that. I have no problem investing any of my resources into any artist, because someone took a chance on me. So it's my godly duty to take that chance on other people as well, and give them the same opportunity. So please do be in touch with me, but just keep one thing in mind: if you're not willing to invest in your own career, then don't just automatically assume I'm gonna be willing to invest into your career.
I really appreciate that, because again, like I say, if we can if we can reach out to more young people who want to break into music and let them know the realities of it, I'm sure you can get a lot more who's going to learn. I mean, if you get at least one out of every 10, you've accomplished something.
Oh yeah, you accomplishing a whole lot if you can do that.
That's a very powerful lesson from, and I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. I do apologize. Jamin Kendall, not Jamin Kendall, but Jamin Kendall. But a lot of good knowledge. A lot of young people really do need to watch this interview if you're really thinking about going into the music industry. Now, when I come back, I'll have a final thought and what to expect when my show returns later this fall. Finding love over the internet is stressful, but for one serial killer, it's murder. Mark Alexander has to track down the cyber serial killer before his body count rises, but tracking him through cyberspace is harder than he thinks. By God, from the heart of a virtual demon at your favorite bookstore or from these websites. First, Michelle Nichols offered you a piece of herself and a piece of me. Then she teased you with a little sexual seduction. And now she's taking you on a road of emotions. Road of Emotions, coming soon to your favorite bookstore or these websites. Welcome back. I want to end the show by announcing a couple of things. Like I said earlier, this is my final show until November, because I'll be taking a lot of time and shutting down everything and moving to St. Louis. St. Louis provides me a big opportunity, besides the fact that it's home for my family and everything. There's going to be a lot of big changes, which you're going to find out when I redo the show this fall. Among some of the changes you're going to see are a bigger technology corner where I'll be on location more from places like Best Buy and Target and places, and just give you the deal straight off. I'll also do more live interviews with more authors. I'll be doing more on location interviews from my own book signings, from other people's book signings, from big events such as the Missouri Black Expo and other places. It's just going to be a big thing. For my first show, sometime in November, I'm going to give you a behind the scenes look of my new apartment, how I do the show, how things work. And I'm hoping to also get a lot of deals in the works, but I'll also be doing getting a lot of guest hosts and working with a lot of people within the St. Louis community. There'll be a lot of holiday themed shows coming up. So in other words, this new move is going to provide bigger and better things. Also, in the meantime, look out for my Sergeant Wise Guy sequel. And like I told you before, I have two brand new How to Lose a Black Woman sequels. But the Sergeant Winescat Chronicles sequel is going to be big. All I can say is it's going to be biological warfare big. I just put it like that. I'm not giving away any more. Um, from there, I'd like to say thank you. And I'll also be posting bonus interviews and past interviews on my AC Insider page, as well as posting extra interviews from time to time on there as well. And I will also have out my outtakes from my beginning of my summer show on there as well. So everyone have a good day, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit.